that were submitted on cards, and then we've got others begin. Those who have questions, if you would come around, begin coming around to this side toward the microphone, but it looks like we've got one on board now. If you would, when you present your question, please, we've got a couple of video cameras that we want to record and memorialize, so please introduce yourself and before presenting your question, if you would. So thank you.
I'm Rob McIntyre. Live in the Glendo neighborhood, just about a mile away from here. And welcome, Mr. Mayor, to our 04 zip code. As you may well know, it dates back to the 1835 Isaac Decker Tract, deeded by Ben Milam, the Texas hero of the Revolution. And we're here. Okay, 30. Okay, well, we were historically settled in an integrated fashion, in a geographically unified fashion, and we were split up in the 2014 elections, and now we have the highest rate of home demolition in Austin. We trump everybody.
You need to ask your question.
And that's it. How is the CodeNEXT going to affect that?
I think that one of the challenges.
Microphone. Switch the microphone.
Is there something I should be doing?
Yeah.
Displacement.
Nope.
Tested. 1, 2, 3. Displacement. Displacement in our city is a huge issue. Whatever we do in CodeNEXT has to be something that is proactively driving to prevent displacement and not exacerbate displacement. The displacement exists now under the current code. One of the reasons why we need CodeNEXT is because the current code we have is resulting in the displacement of population in a way that we have to change. Displacement in this city deals with more elements than just housing, although housing is a big component of displacement. Which is why I suggested to the council that we hit the displacement issue by bringing in a task force with competence and skills, both people that have experienced displacement and can speak about it firsthand, as well as an array of competencies that go beyond that, so that we can talk about all the different things we can do in that issue. Part of it's housing, part of it's job training. It's a lot of different things, but it is a big enough concern that we need to address that issue as many different ways as we can. But to the degree that CodeNEXT in the first draft incentivized the tearing up of homes, or left homes in a situation where they became a non-conforming use so that somebody couldn't work to add a bathroom on their home or a bedroom on their home, it presented a problem and a concern, and it needs to be fixed. And that's okay.
That one works.
That's all right. And my anticipation, my expectation is that the next draft of the code we have is going to deal with it. If it doesn't deal with it, then we need to fix it. But displacement is as big a concern for me as it is for you.
Is that one working?
Okay. Hey Mayor, my name's Erin McGann. I've lived in Bouldin for 15 years, and thank you so much for coming this evening. First, I would like to point out that although this is a large number of people for our meetings, this is less than 2% of the population of Bouldin. There's a lot of people that can't come to these meetings. I also want you to know that I am very pro CodeNEXT. I think this is a fantastic jumping off spot, and I think we can do some really great things with it. I'm looking forward to seeing increased housing density and increased types of housing that we can have. Currently, the code doesn't allow for a lot of the different types of housing. And so I'm really glad that you're here and you're promoting the CodeNEXT, and thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Hi, Mayor. My name is Olivia Overturf. I am a representative, or I don't actually represent all of East Austin because I can't afford to live there anymore. I would like to have two questions. When we look at the maps, earlier you stated that you weren't really familiar with the CodeNEXT maps and what they projected. And I just want to make sure that you're aware, and I've already addressed the planning committee, that there was actually very little involvement, community involvement with East Austin in the community characteristic maps. And I wanted to know what your office plans on doing about further attempting to reach out to East Austin and getting their input. And second of all, I'd like to point out to you personally that with the proposed closures of a few AISD schools in East Austin, what do you think that's going to look like in about 10 years if CodeNEXT pops in? And we're still whittling down. I know we're still whittling down to the fourth draft, but I just wanted to see if you were aware of the overlapping issues of, instead of maybe calling it displacement, we could call it resident retention.
Right, I think, you know, it's not that I am not aware of CodeNEXT. I am pretty fair. I just may not know the level of detail that you'd want to ask. I just wanted to allow for that. But I think that this is as actively engaged a community effort at this point as anything that I've seen. There are a lot of communities that are involved in this right now. There are a lot of conversations. This is all over social media. There are meetings that are happening right now all over the city. And there are people that are, the council members are out in their communities. I have been to community meetings all over the city on this issue. This is going to get a higher and higher elevation as we move forward, as it moves into the more public arena with the Planning Commission, and as that it's going to be out there, because we need to have everybody participating in this, so everybody has a sense of ownership and involvement, and believes that they have the opportunity to be heard. I do think that one of the things we should be looking at in CodeNEXT are the schools on the east side of town. And I think that one of the problems that we have is that we're losing population in those areas surrounding those schools. So if there was something that we could do as part of this planning to be able to increase the families or the density or something that would enable those schools to be able to stay open so that they don't close, that would be something that I would like to see the program do. The words displacement, when you use those words, some people use them interchangeably with gentrification. I think they're different. Displacement with respect to retention, I think, is also an apt change, because there are lots of different reasons why somebody becomes displaced. And I think that, again, the displacement work that I proposed, the really good work that Councilmember Poole has proposed, I think is also a real valuable thing for us to get.
Hi, Mayor. My name is Rick Chafee. I live right at the top of the hill in Bouldin Creek up by the library. The thing that sort of gave me alarm on the CodeNEXT saw a 50% reduction in parking requirement. I wanted to ask you about that, because we already have a nightmare in parking down here in this neighborhood. Sort of interlocking issue that I just want to bring up, you know, there's the whole watershed. I haven't really heard how the watershed is going to be protected in CodeNEXT, but also I was just wondering if there's any way to maybe combine a parking use and a watershed use by creating retention ponds. Thank you for coming.
Parking is a bear, and a. Parking is a bear, and quite frankly, I'm not sure that as I stand here today, I know the right answer to parking. You know, there are environmental issues associated with increased parking. There are safety issues associated with parking. Parking is a tough issue. I think that when we have developed, and I'm not convinced yet that what we see in the CodeNEXT drafts is the right resolution to parking. In fact, I don't believe that it is. So I think that there's more work that has to be done on that, and quite frankly, I really want to hear additional ideas and additional discussion on what we do with parking. I do know that ultimately in a city like Austin, we will not solve parking issues or congestion issues by building more lanes and more opportunities. And it is I was talking to someone the other day who was lamenting the construction activity that's taking place on Mopac forever. Which I'm told, by the way, I met with the RMA people and they say the northbound lanes will actually be done by September and the others by October. I've heard that before, but I like to see that. But you know what would happen if we added 3 more lanes onto Mopac tomorrow? If we could snap our fingers and add 3 more lanes onto Mopac tomorrow, 2 things would happen. That morning, tomorrow, traffic would be free flow and it would be great. The second thing that would happen is that the housing prices in Leander would go up by 40% almost overnight, because it would now be an area that people could live in and commute to downtown in the amount of time that people want to do that. And in 3 years worth of time, those lanes on Mopac would be as full then as they are today. Parking is a similar kind of issue. The concept of decreasing parking in and around transit stations, if we had rail stations, the rail stations that we have, or the rapid transit stations, that's something that I think is worthy of discussion. Blanket things that happen across neighborhoods I have more difficulty with, because I see less of the link between the solution and the challenge. But I don't know what the right answer is. You know, we have a code right now that in this new code, the code draft that's currently being written right now, does not just decrease parking counts. It also increases parking counts. And it depends on the property type that you're dealing with. It deals with the tool that's being used, and it deals with the location. So the people that come to me and say it's bad because it takes away too much parking, and the people that come to me and say it's bad because it adds too much parking, I listen to both those and I say they're both true. We need the conversation to continue. I don't know what the right answer is, but it is a really difficult problem that we're going to have to work our way through, and I'm not convinced that the solutions that we've seen on paper, any of them right now, are the